Imagine waking up every day knowing exactly what you need to do to make your life better without relying on motivation, luck, or sudden bursts of willpower. Imagine having a system in place that guides your actions, builds your habits, and improves your life quietly and steadily, even when progress feels invisible. Most people chase goals and get frustrated when results take longer than expected. They work hard, feel stuck, and wonder if all their effort matters. This approach keeps them trapped in cycles of hope and disappointment. This audiobook is different. It shows you how to replace that endless chase with a system that works for you every day. You will learn how to create daily routines that guide your behavior, build habits that stick, remove obstacles that block your consistency, and adjust your life to keep improving, no matter what changes around you. You will discover how to design your environment to make good choices automatic, and how to show up every day, even when results are not visible. By the end, you won't just have a plan for improvement. You'll have a way of living that makes growth natural. You'll understand why trusting systems instead of outcomes changes everything about how you approach your work, your health, and your personal growth. You'll feel more in control, more confident, and more capable of creating lasting change. If you are ready to stop struggling, stop waiting for motivation, and start building a life that improves consistently and steadily, this audiobook will guide you step by step. It is practical, it is realistic, and it is designed to help you take action immediately. Stick with it, and you will learn the kind of systems that can truly change your life. Chapter 1. Build daily systems that guide actions without motivation. Most people wait to feel ready before they act. They wait for motivation to arrive like a wave of energy that lifts them into motion. Some wait for confidence, some wait for clarity, some wait for the perfect mood or the perfect time. And while they wait, days pass, opportunities shrink, and life quietly moves forward without them. This is not because they are weak or lazy. It is because they were taught the wrong way to change. They were taught to chase goals instead of building systems. Goals depend on emotion. Systems depend on structure. Motivation is unreliable. Systems do not ask how you feel. They simply guide what you do. A daily system is a set of simple actions that you follow regardless of mood, weather, stress, or results. It is not dramatic. It does not feel heroic. It feels ordinary. That is why it works. Systems remove the need to negotiate with yourself. They reduce the number of decisions you must make. They turn improvement into something boring and repeatable. When the mind is calm and the path is clear, action becomes natural. Most people fail not because they lack desire, but because they rely on motivation to carry them through resistance. Motivation is emotional fuel. Emotional fuel runs out quickly. Discipline fueled by structure lasts. A system does not care if you feel tired or inspired. It exists to be followed. When action is guided by design instead of emotion, progress becomes steady. Over time, steady progress becomes transformation. To build daily systems that guide actions without motivation, the first shift is internal. You stop asking how you feel and start asking what the system requires. This does not mean ignoring emotions. It means not allowing emotions to decide behavior. Stoic thinkers understood this clearly. They believed that freedom comes from mastering response, not controlling circumstance. A system is a modern form of that wisdom. It creates a default response that keeps you aligned with your values, even when the mind resists. The problem with motivation is not that it is bad. The problem is that it is unpredictable. Some days you wake up with energy and focus. Other days you wake up heavy and distracted. If action depends on feeling good, then action will be rare. A system removes this dependency. It sets a minimum standard that can be met even on difficult days. It defines what showing up looks like when conditions are not ideal. A strong daily system begins small. Most people try to change everything at once. They overhaul their routines, their diet, their work habits, their sleep, and their mindset all in the same week. This approach fails because it demands too much willpower. Systems work because they conserve willpower. They reduce effort by narrowing focus. One clear action repeated daily is more powerful than many intentions carried inconsistently. To begin, choose one area of life where progress matters deeply to you. It could be health, learning, work, finances, or emotional stability. Then identify one action that directly supports improvement in that area and can be done daily with minimal effort. Not a perfect action, not a complete solution. Just one action that moves you slightly forward. The power lies in repetition, not intensity. For example, if health matters, the system might be a daily walk of 10 minutes. Not an hour, not a full workout plan, just you walk every day, no debate, no excuses. If 10 minutes feels too easy, that is a sign it is sustainable. Sustainability is the foundation of systems. If an action is too heavy to repeat, it is not a system, it is a wish. Once the action is chosen, the next step is to anchor it to time and place. A system without a clear trigger becomes optional. Optional actions are easy to skip. A system must have a fixed starting point. For example, the walk happens immediately after waking up, or after lunch, or at the same hour every evening. The mind learns patterns quickly. When an action always follows the same cue, it becomes automatic. This is how systems bypass motivation. They rely on habit loops rather than emotional drive. The brain prefers predictability. When an action is repeated in the same context, resistance decreases. Over time, the system becomes part of daily rhythm. You no longer ask whether you should do it. You simply do it because it is time. Another essential part of building systems is lowering the entry barrier. Many people sabotage themselves by setting standards that are too high. They decide that if they cannot do something perfectly, it is not worth doing at all. This thinking destroys consistency. A system must be designed to succeed even on bad days. That means defining the smallest acceptable version of the action. If the system is reading daily, the minimum might be 1 page. If the system is writing, the minimum might be 1 paragraph. If the system is exercise, the minimum might be 5 minutes of movement. These minimums are not ceilings, they are safety nets. On good days, you will often do more. On bad days, you still show up. Showing up is the victory. This approach trains self-trust. Every time you complete the minimum, you prove to yourself that you keep promises. Over time, this builds quiet confidence. Confidence is not loud. It is not emotional. It is the result of consistent behavior aligned with values. Systems create this alignment. Many people confuse systems with routines. Routines are sequences of actions. Systems are principles that guide behavior. A routine might change. A system adapts. For example, a system might be to move the body daily. The routine might be walking 1 week and stretching another. The system remains stable even as routines shift. This flexibility is important because life changes. Systems survive change. Rigid plans break. To guide actions without motivation, systems must also account for friction. Friction is anything that makes an action harder to start. The more friction an action has, the more motivation it requires. To reduce reliance on motivation, friction must be removed. This means preparing the environment in advance. If the system is morning writing, the notebook should already be open on the desk. If the system is healthy eating, nutritious food should be easily accessible. If the system is exercise, clothes should be laid out the night before. These small adjustments reduce the energy needed to begin. When starting is easy, continuation follows naturally. Equally important is increasing friction for behaviors you want to reduce. Systems are not only about adding actions, they are also about shaping choices. If distraction is a problem, the system might involve keeping the phone in another room during work hours. If late-night eating is an issue, the system might involve not keeping snacks within reach. The goal is not to rely on self-control, but to design conditions that support desired behavior. A system works best when it is visible. Visibility creates accountability, even if it is only to yourself. This could be a simple checklist, a calendar mark, or a notebook where you track daily completion. The act of marking completion reinforces the habit. It provides a small sense of closure. Over time, missing a mark feels uncomfortable. This discomfort becomes a quiet motivator that does not depend on emotion. Tracking should be simple. Complex tracking systems become another source of resistance. A single check mark per Dalton Y is enough. The purpose is not analysis. The purpose is awareness. Awareness strengthens intention. When you see a chain of completed days, you are less likely to break it. This is not about guilt. It is about momentum. Another key insight is that systems must be values-based, not outcome-based. Goals focus on results. Systems focus on behavior. You cannot control outcomes completely. You can control actions. When systems are aligned with values, they remain meaningful, even when results are slow. This protects motivation from collapse. For example, if the value is growth, the system might be daily learning. Even if progress feels invisible for weeks, the action still aligns with who you want to be. This creates internal stability. Stoic philosophy emphasizes focusing on what is within your control. Systems embody this principle. They shift attention from distant results to present action. It is also important to accept that resistance will still appear. Systems do not eliminate discomfort. They make it manageable. There will be days when you do not want to follow the system. On those days, the system becomes even more valuable. It acts as a guide when judgment is clouded. Instead of debating, you follow the plan. When resistance appears, the response is not force but simplicity. You remind yourself that the system only requires the minimum. You lower expectations and begin. Often starting is the hardest part. Once started, momentum carries you forward. Even if it does not, completing the minimum is enough. Over time, systems change identity. Identity is shaped by repeated behavior. When you act daily in alignment with a system, you begin to see yourself differently. You become someone who shows up, someone who keeps commitments, someone who moves forward even without motivation. This identity shift is subtle but powerful. It affects decisions across all areas of life. A person who identifies as consistent does not need motivation to act. Consistency becomes part of self-image. Systems are the training ground for this transformation. They provide daily evidence of who you are becoming. Each small action reinforces the story you tell yourself about yourself. It is also necessary to review systems periodically. A system is not a rigid rule. It is a living structure. Life changes. Energy levels change. Priorities shift. A system that once fit may become outdated. Weekly reflection helps maintain alignment. This does not require deep analysis. A simple question is enough. Is this system still serving my values and current reality? If the answer is no, adjust the system, change the time, change the action, change the minimum. The goal is not perfection. The goal is continuity. A broken system that is never adjusted leads to frustration. An adjusted system remains useful. One common mistake is building too many systems at once. This leads to overload. It is better to build one system and stabilize it before adding another. Stability means the system feels natural and requires little thought. Once stability is achieved, another system can be layered on. This gradual approach respects human limits. Growth is not a sprint, it is a process. Another mistake is tying self-worth to system performance. Systems are tools, not measures of value. Missing a day does not define you. What matters is returning the next day. Resilience is built through recovery, not perfection. A system is successful if it brings you back on track quickly after disruption. The most effective systems are often invisible to others. They do not attract praise. They do not look impressive. They operate quietly in the background of daily life. Their power lies in accumulation. A single day changes little. Hundreds of days change everything. When systems guide actions without motivation, life becomes steadier. Emotional highs and lows have less control. Progress becomes less dramatic, but more reliable. You stop waiting for the perfect moment and start acting in the present one. This creates a sense of calm strength. You are no longer pushed by urgency or pulled by fear. You move forward because that is what the system does. This approach also reduces decision fatigue. When actions are pre-decided, mental energy is freed for more meaningful work. You no longer waste time debating whether to act. The decision has already been made. This clarity reduces stress and increases focus over time. Systems create trust in yourself. You learn that you can rely on your actions even when feelings fluctuate. This trust is deeply stabilizing. It allows you to face challenges without panic. You know that regardless of outcome, you will continue to act according to your principles. The final insight is that systems are not about control. They are about alignment. They align daily behavior with long-term values. They align effort with reality. They align intention with action. When alignment is present, progress feels natural. You are no longer fighting yourself. You are working with your nature instead of against it. Building daily systems that guide actions without motivation is not a quick fix. It is a way of living. It requires patience and honesty. It requires letting go of dramatic expectations and embracing steady effort. But the reward is profound. You gain consistency without force, discipline without suffering, growth without chaos. When you wake up each day knowing exactly what small actions you will take, life feels less overwhelming. You no longer carry the weight of vague ambition. You carry a clear plan. You move one step at a time over weeks and months. Those steps compound. The change may be slow, but it is real, and real change lasts. This is how systems change lives, not through bursts of inspiration, but through quiet commitment, not through grand goals, but through simple daily actions. When you stop waiting to feel motivated and start building systems that guide you forward, progress becomes inevitable. Chapter 2. Replace fixed goals with repeatable habits you control. A fixed goal looks clear on paper. It has a number, a deadline, and a picture of success attached to it. It feels satisfying to set because it gives the mind a sense of direction. But fixed goals carry a hidden weakness. They focus attention on an outcome you cannot fully control. When progress slows or conditions change, the goal starts to feel distant and heavy. Motivation drops, frustration grows. Many people quit, not because they lack ability, but because the goal becomes a source of pressure instead of guidance. This is where habits become powerful. Habits shift attention away from distant results and place it on actions you can perform today. A habit is something you control fully. You cannot control when success arrives, how fast others move, or how the world responds. You can control whether you take a small action today when life feels uncertain. Control over small actions becomes grounding. Replacing fixed goals with repeatable habits is not about lowering ambition. It is about choosing a form of ambition that survives reality. Fixed goals often create an all-or-nothing mindset. Either you are moving toward the goal, or you feel like you are failing. Habits remove this extreme thinking. Each day becomes a fresh opportunity to act. Success is measured by showing up, not by reaching a distant finish line. This reduces pressure and increases consistency. Consistency is what actually changes a life. Many people believe in truth, meaning comes from daily effort aligned with values. A habit is a daily expression of what matters to you. If learning matters, you read or study daily. If health matters, you move your body daily. If clarity matters, you spend time in reflection daily. These actions create a sense of purpose that does not depend on future achievement. Another problem with fixed goals is that they often end. Once the goal is reached, momentum disappears. People celebrate briefly and then return to old patterns. Habits do not end, they evolve. When you build habits instead of chasing goals, improvement continues even after milestones are reached. This creates long-term stability. Replacing goals with habits requires a shift in how you define progress. Progress is no longer measured by how close you are to an endpoint. It is measured by how often you act in alignment with your intention. This keeps progress alive even during slow periods. Slow periods are not failures. They are part of any real process. To begin this shift, take a goal you currently hold and break it down into behaviors. Ask a simple question. What would someone who has already achieved this goal do daily or weekly? Focus on the behavior, not the result. For example, instead of aiming to become fit, focus on moving your body every day. Instead of aiming to write a book, focus on writing a small amount regularly. Instead of aiming for financial security, focus on tracking expenses or saving consistently. The habit should be specific and repeatable. Vague habits fail, clear habits succeed. A habit like read more is unclear. A habit like read 10 pages every evening is clear. Clarity removes hesitation. When the action is defined, there is no room for debate. It is also important to keep habits small at first. Many people turn habits into goals by making them too demanding. A habit that feels heavy will be avoided. A habit that feels manageable will be repeated. Repetition matters more than effort. Small actions repeated daily shape identity and results over time. Habits also protect you from emotional swings. There will be days when you feel confident and days when you feel unsure. If action depends on confidence, progress becomes unstable. Habits provide stability. You act because it is part of your day, not because you feel inspired. This steadiness builds inner strength. A Stoic approach to habits emphasizes discipline over desire. Desire changes, discipline remains. Discipline is not harsh control. It is calm commitment to what you have decided matters. When you act daily without drama, you develop respect for yourself. Self-respect grows when actions match values. Another advantage of habits is adaptability. Fixed goals often break when life changes. A habit can be adjusted without being abandoned. If your schedule shifts, the habit can move to a different time. If energy drops, the habit can be scaled down. The commitment remains even as the form changes. This flexibility prevents collapse. Habits also reduce fear of failure. When success is defined as completion of a habit, failure becomes rare. Even imperfect action counts. This encourages experimentation. You can try new approaches without risking identity or self-worth. Growth becomes safer. Tracking habits can strengthen commitment. Simple tracking creates awareness. Awareness reinforces behavior. Seeing evidence of consistency builds momentum. It also reveals patterns. You learn when habits are easiest and when resistance appears. This information helps you adjust intelligently. However, tracking should never become a burden. The purpose is not perfection. The purpose is feedback. If tracking feels heavy, simplify it. 1 mark per Dalton Y is enough. The habit itself matters more than the record. Replacing goals with habits also changes how you experience time. Goals pull attention into the future. Habits bring attention into the present. When you focus on what you can do now, anxiety decreases. You are no longer living in constant anticipation. You are engaged with the day in front of you. This present focus improves quality of life. You find satisfaction in effort itself. This does not remove ambition. It grounds ambition. You still care about growth, but you are no longer dependent on outcomes for peace of mind. Another important aspect is choosing habits that align with your current season of life. A habit that fits one phase may not fit another. There is no universal habit list. Personal relevance matters. Habits should support your responsibilities, energy level, and priorities. When habits fit your life, consistency follows naturally. It is also useful to link habits to existing routines. When a habit is attached to something you already do, it becomes easier to remember and execute. For example, reading after dinner or stretching after waking up. This reduces cognitive load. The habit becomes part of a sequence rather than a separate task. Habits also teach patience. Results from habits are often slow and subtle. This trains you to value process over reward. Patience is a skill that strengthens with practice. As patience grows, impulsive decisions decrease. You become less reactive and more intentional. Over time, habits shape character. Character is built through repeated choices. When you choose to act daily despite discomfort, you develop resilience. Resilience is not toughness. It is the ability to continue without losing direction. Habits cultivate this ability quietly. Replacing goals with habits does not mean abandoning dreams. Dreams provide direction, habits provide movement. The mistake is relying on dreams alone. When dreams are supported by habits, they become reachable. When dreams are unsupported, they remain fantasies. There may be moments when you feel tempted to set new goals instead of strengthening habits. This often happens when progress feels slow. In those moments, return attention to daily action. Ask what you can do today that aligns with your intention. Action reduces doubt. Doubt grows when action stops. It is also important to avoid comparing your habits to others. Comparison shifts focus away from control. Your habits are shaped by your circumstances and values. What matters is consistency, not speed. Quiet progress is still progress. As habits accumulate, confidence grows naturally. This confidence is different from excitement. It is steady and calm. It comes from knowing that you act reliably. This confidence carries into other areas of life. You trust yourself to handle challenges because you have evidence of discipline. Replacing fixed goals with repeatable habits is a decision to build from the ground up. It is a decision to prioritize what you can do over what you hope will happen. This approach creates stability in uncertain times. It allows growth to continue even when conditions are not ideal. When you wake up knowing exactly what small actions you will take, the day feels manageable. You are not overwhelmed by distant expectations. You are engaged with the present task. This creates momentum. Momentum creates change. In the long run, habits shape outcomes more reliably than goals ever could. Outcomes become a natural consequence rather than a source of pressure. When habits are strong, results take care of themselves. This is the quiet power of replacing goals with habits. You stop chasing a finish line and start building a way of living. You stop waiting for success and start practicing it daily. Over time, the life you want emerges from the actions you repeat. Chapter 3. Design environments that make positive behaviors automatic. Most people believe change is a test of character. They believe if they were stronger, more disciplined, or more motivated, they would act better. This belief creates quiet self-blame when they fail to follow through. They assume something is wrong with them. In reality, the problem is often not the person. It is the environment around them. Behavior is shaped less by willpower and more by what surrounds you every day. When the environment is designed well, positive actions happen almost without effort. When it is designed poorly, even strong intentions struggle. Every environment sends signals. Some signals invite focus, calm, and action. Others invite distraction, delay, and comfort-seeking. You respond to these signals automatically, often without noticing. This is not weakness, it is human nature. The mind is constantly conserving energy. It chooses the path of least resistance. If the easiest option supports growth, growth happens. If the easiest option supports avoidance, avoidance becomes the norm. Designing environments that make positive behaviors automatic means accepting a simple truth. You will not always feel disciplined. You will not always choose wisely in the moment. Instead of fighting this reality, you design around it. You shape your surroundings so the right choice becomes the easy choice. This is not manipulation, it is responsibility. Consider how often actions begin without a conscious decision. You check your phone because it is within reach. You snack because food is visible. You sit longer because the chair is comfortable. These actions feel small, but repeated daily they shape outcomes. When you redesign these small cues, behavior changes naturally. The first step is awareness. You begin by observing how your environment influences you. Notice where your attention goes when you enter a room. Notice what objects you reach for without thinking. Notice where time disappears. This observation is not judgment. It is information. Once you see the pattern, you can change it. A Stoic mindset begins with accepting what is. You do not criticize yourself for reacting to your surroundings. You recognize that response follows stimulus. If you want a different response, you change the stimulus. This is practical wisdom. Start with one behavior you want to strengthen. Do not try to redesign your entire life at once. Choose one positive action that matters right now. Then ask a clear question: what in my environment makes this action harder than it needs to be? Often the answer is simple. The tools are hidden. The space is cluttered. The time is undefined. If you want to read more, but books are stored away, reading requires effort. If you place a book where you usually rest, reading becomes natural. If you want to write daily, but your workspace is messy, writing feels heavy. Clearing the desk removes resistance. These are not dramatic changes. They are quiet adjustments with lasting impact. Environment design also involves removing triggers that pull you away from intention. Many people focus only on adding helpful things. Removal is just as important. If something repeatedly distracts you, its presence is a constant drain on attention. Removing it is an act of discipline. For example, if constant notifications break focus, the environment is noisy. Silence restores clarity. If unhealthy food is always visible, temptation becomes routine. Hiding it or not, bringing it into the space changes behavior without effort. This is not about restriction. It is about alignment. The mind prefers clarity. When the environment is cluttered, the mind becomes cluttered. When the environment is calm, the mind follows. This does not require perfection. It requires intention. One clear surface, one organized area, one place dedicated to a specific action. These small zones of order support consistent behavior. Time is also part of the environment. Many people ignore this. If your day has no structure, actions compete randomly. Designing time blocks creates mental space. When a specific time is reserved for a specific action, decision-making decreases. You are not asking what to do. You are following the plan. This does not mean rigid schedules. It means clear anchors. A morning block for focused work, an evening block for rest, a short daily block for learning or movement. These anchors shape behavior quietly. Over time, the body and mind adapt. Social environment matters deeply. The people around you influence what feels normal. If growth is rare in your surroundings, effort feels strange. If growth is common, effort feels natural. This does not mean abandoning relationships. It means choosing exposure carefully. You can design social environments by limiting time in spaces that drain focus and increasing time in spaces that support intention. This could be physical or digital. Conversations shape mindset. Content shapes attention. Choose inputs that reinforce who you want to become. Another powerful aspect of environment design is reducing choice. Too many options create hesitation. Hesitation leads to inaction. When options are limited, action becomes easier. This is why simple systems work better than complex ones. For example, having a fixed set of clothes for work reduces morning decisions. Having a fixed meal structure reduces daily negotiation. These limits are freeing. They conserve mental energy for what truly matters. Environment design is not about control. It is about support. You are not forcing yourself to behave better. You are helping yourself succeed. This approach is compassionate. It respects human limits. It replaces self-criticism with smart structure. There will be moments when the environment changes unexpectedly. Travel, illness, stress, or new responsibilities can disrupt routines. In those moments, focus on recreating simple cues. Even one familiar action can restore stability. A short walk, a few minutes of reflection, a consistent start or end to the day. These anchors bring order back into chaos. Designing environments also teaches humility. You accept that you are influenced by surroundings. This acceptance reduces ego. You stop assuming strength alone is enough. You start valuing preparation. Preparation is a form of wisdom. Over time, well-designed environments reduce the need for constant self-correction. You are not constantly pulling yourself back on track. The track is already laid out. You simply follow it. This creates a sense of ease. Effort remains, but struggle decreases. It is important to review environments regularly. What worked before may no longer fit. Life evolves. Your environment should evolve with it. Periodic reflection keeps alignment strong. This reflection does not require deep analysis. Simple observation is enough. Ask whether your current surroundings support or undermine your intentions. If they undermine, make one small change. Move one object, remove one distraction, add one cue. Small adjustments compound. Environment design also affects emotional state. Light, space, sound, and order influence mood. When the environment feels supportive, emotional regulation improves. You respond instead of reacting. This stability supports better decisions across the day. A well-designed environment acts like a silent teacher. It reminds you of what matters without words. It nudges behavior gently. Over time, these nudges shape habits. Habits shape identity. Identity shapes destiny. When positive behaviors become automatic, discipline feels lighter. You are no longer relying on constant effort. You are relying on thoughtful design. This frees energy for creativity, relationships, and deeper work. The Stoic view teaches focusing on what you can control. You cannot control every thought or feeling. You can control how you arrange your space, your time, and your inputs. This control is practical and powerful. Designing environments that make positive behaviors automatic is an act of respect for your future self. You are making life easier for the person you will be tomorrow. Each small adjustment is a quiet promise. When you walk into a space designed with intention, action follows naturally. You do not feel pushed. You feel guided over days and months. This guidance becomes a way of living. This is how change becomes sustainable. Not through constant effort, but through intelligent design. When the environment supports growth, growth stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like the natural direction of your life. Chapter 4. Focus on processes you can execute every day. Many people exhaust themselves by thinking too far ahead. They live in imagined futures, measuring their worth by results that have not yet arrived. This habit creates pressure and restlessness. When attention is fixed on outcomes, the present moment feels inadequate. Anxiety grows because the future is uncertain. The mind keeps asking whether the effort will pay off. This questioning weakens action. Focusing on processes you can execute every day brings attention back to what is real and controllable. It replaces worry with movement. A process is a sequence of actions you can perform regardless of external conditions. It does not promise quick rewards, it promises direction. When you commit to a daily process, you stop asking whether you will succeed and start asking whether you showed up. This shift changes how effort feels. Effort becomes lighter because it is no longer tied to constant evaluation. Daily processes create stability. They give structure to days that might otherwise feel scattered. When life feels uncertain, a simple process becomes an anchor. You may not know how everything will turn out, but you know what you will do today. That knowledge brings calm. Many people avoid committing to processes because they seem boring. They want excitement, visible progress, and dramatic change. Processes rarely offer that at first. They offer repetition. But repetition is where strength is built. The body grows stronger through repeated movement. The mind grows clearer through repeated focus. Character grows through repeated choice. Focusing on process requires humility. It asks you to accept that meaningful change is gradual. This acceptance reduces frustration. When progress feels slow, you do not panic because the process remains intact. You trust that steady effort accumulates. A Stoic approach values action over outcome. You do what is right because it is right, not because of guaranteed reward. A daily process reflects this mindset. You act because action aligns with your values. Results become secondary. This does not remove ambition. It grounds ambition in discipline. To build a daily process, begin by defining actions that fit your current life. A process must be realistic. If it demands constant strain, it will fail. The most effective processes are simple and repeatable. They do not require special conditions. They fit into ordinary days, for example. Instead of focusing on becoming highly skilled, focus on practicing a small amount daily. Instead of focusing on changing your mindset, focus on a daily reflection. These actions are modest, but their impact grows with time. A daily process should be clear. Ambiguity creates hesitation. When you know exactly what to do, starting becomes easier. Write down the process in plain words. Keep it visible. This reduces mental effort. Consistency matters more than intensity. A small process executed daily outperforms a large process executed rarely. This is because consistency builds trust in yourself. Each day you follow the process, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable. This belief strengthens discipline. Daily processes also protect against burnout. When effort is spread evenly over time, the body and mind adapt. Extreme effort followed by collapse creates instability. Steady effort creates endurance. There will be days when the process feels pointless. Results may not be visible. On those days, remind yourself that the process is the goal. Completion is success. This mindset keeps you moving when motivation fades. Processes also reduce decision fatigue. When actions are predefined, you save mental energy. This energy can be used for deeper thinking or creativity. The process handles the routine so you can focus on what requires judgment. It is important to keep processes flexible. Life is not static. A process that fits one season may not fit another. Adjusting a process is not failure, it is intelligence. The core commitment remains, the form adapts. Review your process regularly, ask whether it still serves your values. If it feels misaligned, refine it. Small adjustments maintain relevance. Avoid the temptation to abandon the process entirely. Modification preserves continuity. Daily processes teach patience. They train you to value effort without immediate reward. This patience extends beyond the process itself. You become calmer in other areas of life. You stop rushing outcomes, you trust time. Processes also create momentum. When you complete one small action, the next becomes easier. Momentum is subtle but powerful. It carries you forward even on difficult days. It is helpful to start the day with a process. Morning actions set tone. A simple morning process can bring clarity and direction. This does not require elaborate routines. One intentional action is enough. Ending the day with a process is also valuable. Reflection, planning, or quiet time helps close the day. This creates a sense of completion. The mind rests more easily when the day has structure. Processes can exist in any area of life. Physical health, learning, relationships, work, and inner stability all benefit from daily action. Choose one area to focus on at a time. Depth matters more than breadth. Avoid comparing your process to others. Each person's life is different. What matters is whether your process fits your reality. Comparison shifts focus away from execution. There may be interruptions. Travel, illness, or unexpected demands can disrupt routines in these moments. Reduce the process to its simplest form. Maintain continuity even if scale decreases. This preserves identity. Identity is shaped by what you do repeatedly. When you follow a daily process, you become someone who acts with intention. This identity influences future choices. Action becomes easier because it aligns with who you believe you are. Processes also teach resilience. You learn to continue despite discomfort. This resilience is quiet. It does not seek attention. It shows itself through steadiness. The mind often resists repetition. It seeks novelty. Recognize this tendency without obeying it. Novelty can be introduced occasionally, but the core process remains stable. Stability is the foundation of growth. Over time, daily processes create visible change. Skills improve, strength increases, understanding deepens. These results feel earned because they are built slowly. This builds confidence that is not fragile. When you focus on processes you can execute every day, life becomes less overwhelming. You are no longer carrying the weight of distant expectations. You are focused on the present task. This presence improves quality of experience. The future is shaped by what you do consistently. By choosing a process and honoring it daily, you shape your future without anxiety. You move forward calmly. This approach creates a sense of control in an uncertain world. You cannot control everything that happens. You can control how you act today. That control is enough. Focusing on daily processes is a commitment to realism. It accepts limits and works within them. It replaces wishful thinking with steady effort. This realism is not pessimistic. It is empowering. When you wake up knowing exactly what small actions you will take, the day feels purposeful. You are not chasing outcomes. You are practicing discipline over months and years. These processes become part of who you are. They shape your days quietly. The life you build through them feels solid because it rests on action, not hope. This is the strength of focusing on processes you can execute every day. It transforms effort into habit, habit into identity, and identity into a life of steady progress. Chapter 5. Track small actions consistently to create lasting progress. Progress often feels invisible while it is happening. Days pass, effort is spent, and yet the change you hope for does not seem obvious. This is where many people lose momentum. They assume nothing is working and slowly drift back to old habits. The truth is that progress rarely announces itself. It grows quietly. Tracking small actions consistently is how you make that quiet growth visible and keep yourself grounded in reality rather than emotion. Tracking is not about pressure, it is about clarity. When you track, you replace vague feelings with facts. Instead of guessing whether you are improving, you can see what you are doing. This removes confusion. Confusion drains energy. Clarity restores it. Many people resist tracking because they fear judgment. They think tracking means criticizing themselves for missed days or imperfect effort. This fear misunderstands the purpose. Tracking is not a courtroom. It is a mirror. A mirror does not shame, it reflects. What you do with the reflection determines growth. Small actions are easy to dismiss. They feel too minor to matter. One short walk, one page read, one focused work session, in isolation, they seem insignificant. When tracked consistently, they reveal a pattern. Patterns are powerful. A pattern repeated over time shapes outcomes, whether you notice it or not. Tracking allows you to see the pattern you are creating. The human mind is unreliable when it comes to remembering effort. It remembers emotion more than behavior. A difficult day can make a week feel unproductive, even when many actions were completed. Tracking protects you from this distortion. It shows you the truth of your behavior, not the story your mood tells. Tracking also builds accountability without force. You are not being watched by others. You are simply observing yourself. This quiet accountability encourages honesty. You begin to act with more intention because you know you will record the action. This awareness gently influences behavior. A Stoic mindset values self-observation. You cannot improve what you do not see. Tracking is a form of self-observation. It is calm and practical. It does not dramatize success or failure. It simply notes what happened. To track effectively, simplicity matters. Complex systems collapse quickly. The more effort tracking requires, the less likely it will continue. A single mark per action is enough. A check on a calendar, a line in a notebook. A simple note. The format does not matter. Consistency does. Tracking should focus on actions, not results. Results are often delayed and influenced by factors beyond control. Actions are immediate and controllable. When you track actions, you reinforce what you can manage. This keeps attention grounded. For example, instead of tracking weight loss, track daily movement or food choices. Instead of tracking income growth, track daily work effort or learning time. This keeps motivation stable because it is tied to behavior rather than outcome. Tracking small actions also reveals friction. You begin to see where consistency breaks. This is valuable information. It shows you where systems need adjustment. Without tracking, these weak points remain hidden. When you notice gaps, respond with curiosity, not criticism. Ask what made the action difficult. Was the timing wrong? Was the action too large? Was the environment unsupportive? Tracking turns problems into solvable questions. Consistency in tracking matters more than perfection. Missing an entry does not erase progress. The goal is to return to tracking as soon as possible. This reinforces resilience. Resilience is built by returning, not by never slipping. Tracking also strengthens self-trust. Each recorded action is evidence that you follow through. Over time, this evidence accumulates. You begin to trust your ability to act even when motivation is low. This trust reduces anxiety. You know that you can rely on your systems. There is also a motivational effect that comes from visible streaks. Seeing a chain of completed days creates a natural desire to continue. This desire is quiet and steady. It does not depend on excitement. It depends on continuity, however. Be careful not to become attached to streaks. Streaks are tools, not identities. If a streak breaks, the practice remains. The danger is letting a broken streak become an excuse to stop entirely. Tracking should support persistence, not perfectionism. Tracking small actions helps recalibrate expectations. Many people expect rapid change. When change does not appear, they feel discouraged. Tracking reveals that progress is happening through consistency. This teaches patience. Patience is a skill developed through evidence. When you see days of effort recorded, patience becomes easier. You no longer wonder whether you are trying. You know you are. Tracking also improves decision-making. When you have a record of actions, you can adjust intelligently. You are not guessing. You are responding to data. This makes improvement practical rather than emotional. For example, if tracking shows that a habit is often skipped at night, you might move it earlier. If tracking shows that effort drops during certain days, you might reduce the action size. These adjustments keep progress alive. Tracking creates a sense of ownership. You are actively engaged in shaping your behavior. This engagement increases commitment. Passive intention becomes active participation. It is important to keep tracking private and honest. Tracking for approval distorts behavior. Tracking for clarity supports growth. The purpose is not to impress. It is to understand. Tracking also highlights the power of accumulation. One day recorded feels small. 30 days recorded tell a story. A year of records reveals transformation. This perspective reduces impatience. Many people quit because they feel stuck. Tracking shows movement even when feelings say otherwise. This keeps you grounded during emotional fluctuations. Tracking small actions also supports identity change. When you see yourself acting consistently, your self-image shifts. You begin to see yourself as disciplined, reliable, and focused. Identity follows evidence. Identity change is important because it influences future behavior. When you believe you are consistent, acting consistently feels natural. Tracking provides proof that supports this belief. There is also a calming effect to tracking. Writing down actions creates closure. The mind relaxes when things are acknowledged. This reduces mental clutter. Tracking should be reviewed periodically. A brief weekly review helps connect daily effort to larger direction. This review does not require deep analysis. A simple look at consistency is enough. During review, notice trends rather than isolated misses. Trends show what is working. Focus on reinforcing what works before fixing what does not. Tracking also teaches responsibility. You stop blaming circumstances and start observing behavior. This responsibility is empowering. It reminds you that change begins with action. Even during difficult periods, tracking provides stability. When life feels chaotic, recording small actions restores order. It reminds you that you are still moving forward. The size of the action does not matter. What matters is that it is tracked. This reinforces the idea that effort counts, Over time, tracking becomes part of the system. It no longer feels like extra work, it feels like closure to the day. This integration makes it sustainable. Tracking also reduces self-deception. Without records, it is easy to overestimate effort or underestimate avoidance. Records provide honesty without judgment. This honesty is essential for growth. Growth requires seeing reality clearly. Tracking provides that clarity. As days accumulate, confidence grows. Not loud confidence, but quiet assurance you know you are doing the work. This knowledge carries you through doubt. Tracking small actions consistently creates lasting progress because it aligns effort with awareness. Awareness strengthens intention. Intention strengthens action. When you track, you are telling yourself that effort matters. You are acknowledging each step. This acknowledgement fuels continuation. In time, the progress you once doubted becomes visible. Skills sharpen, habits stabilize, direction clarifies. None of this feels sudden, it feels earned. Tracking is not about control, it is about respect. Respect for your effort, respect for the process, respect for the slow nature of real change. When you track small actions, you stop relying on memory and emotion. You rely on evidence. Evidence builds confidence. Confidence sustains effort. This is how lasting progress is created, not through dramatic moments, but through small actions noticed and honored daily. Chapter 6. Adjust systems weekly to stay aligned with life changes. Life does not stay still. Energy changes. Responsibilities shift, seasons come and go. What worked perfectly one month can feel heavy the next. Many people fail not because their systems were wrong, but because they treated those systems as permanent rules instead of living structures. When systems are not adjusted, they slowly turn into pressure. Pressure creates resistance. Resistance leads to abandonment. Adjusting systems weekly is how you stay aligned with reality instead of fighting it. A system is meant to support your life, not control it. When life changes and the system does not, tension appears. You begin to feel behind even though you are still trying. This feeling is dangerous because it creates guilt. Guilt drains energy and clouds judgment. Weekly adjustment prevents guilt by keeping expectations realistic. Weekly adjustment is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of awareness. It means you are paying attention to how you actually live rather than how you think you should live. Stoic wisdom teaches acceptance of reality before action. Adjustment begins with acceptance. You accept how the week unfolded without emotion or blame. Many people either overreact or ignore signals. They either abandon systems at the first sign of difficulty or stubbornly force systems that no longer fit. Both responses create instability. Weekly review offers a middle path. You pause briefly, observe honestly, and make small corrections. A weekly adjustment does not require deep analysis. It requires calm observation. You look at what you planned and what you actually did. You notice where energy flowed and where it stalled. You do not dramatize missed actions. You simply note patterns. Patterns tell the truth. Life changes quietly. Sleep shifts. Work demands increase. Emotional load fluctuates. If systems remain fixed, they become misaligned. Misalignment creates friction. Weekly adjustment removes friction before it becomes frustration. The purpose of adjusting is not to make systems easier every time. The purpose is to make them appropriate. Sometimes adjustment means scaling down. Sometimes it means tightening focus. Sometimes it means shifting timing. The commitment remains. The form evolves. Many people believe consistency means never changing the plan. True consistency means staying aligned with values even when circumstances change. Systems are tools to express values. When the tool no longer fits the task, it must be refined. Weekly adjustment keeps systems honest. It prevents self-deception. Without review, it is easy to believe you are committed while quietly avoiding action. Review brings clarity. Clarity restores direction. A weekly review also protects motivation. When you adjust expectations to match reality, success becomes reachable again. Reachable success fuels continuation. Unrealistic expectations destroy momentum. During adjustment, focus on one simple question. What made this week harder than expected? The answer reveals where the system needs support. Maybe the action was too large. Maybe the aiming was poor. Maybe the environment changed. This is information. Another important question is what worked better than expected. Strengthening what works is often more effective than fixing what does not. Systems grow stronger when they are built around success patterns. Weekly adjustment also teaches self-respect. You treat your efforts seriously enough to review it. You treat your limits seriously enough to honor them. This balance builds trust with yourself. There is a difference between quitting and adjusting. Quitting is emotional. Adjusting is strategic. Quitting abandons the process. Adjusting protects it. This distinction is essential for long-term growth. Adjustment also prevents burnout. When systems demand more than current capacity, exhaustion follows. Weekly review catches this early. You scale back before damage occurs. Sustainable effort requires listening to signals. Signals appear as fatigue, avoidance, irritation, or forgetfulness. These are not flaws. They are feedback. Ignoring feedback leads to collapse. Responding to feedback leads to refinement. Weekly adjustment does not mean constant change. Most weeks require small tweaks or no change at all. The review itself creates stability. You know there is a time set aside to recalibrate. This reduces anxiety during the week. This practice also builds adaptability. Adaptability is a core life skill. It allows progress during uncertainty. Rigid systems break under pressure. Flexible systems endure. Many people fear adjustment because they associate it with lowering standards. In reality, adjustment preserves standards by making them achievable. An achievable standard followed consistently is stronger than a high standard followed briefly. Weekly adjustment encourages honesty. You stop pretending that everything is fine when it is not. You stop blaming yourself for misalignment. You take responsibility for redesign. Adjustment also strengthens discipline. Discipline is not forcing yourself to suffer. Discipline is choosing actions that align with long-term values. Adjustment ensures those actions remain possible. When systems align with current life, action feels smoother. You are less likely to procrastinate because resistance is lower. This creates positive momentum. Weekly review also provides perspective. A single bad day feels large in the moment. In review, it becomes small. You see the week as a whole. This reduces emotional reaction. Perspective helps you avoid extreme conclusions. You stop labeling weeks as good or bad. You see patterns instead. Patterns guide intelligent change. Adjustment also supports identity growth. When you see yourself as someone who reviews and refines, you adopt a mindset of continuous improvement. Improvement becomes normal rather than dramatic. This mindset reduces fear of mistakes. Mistakes become part of the process. You do not need to be perfect. You need to be responsive. Weekly adjustment can be brief. Even 10 minutes is enough. The key is regularity. When review becomes routine, systems stay alive. During review, avoid emotional language. Avoid words like failure or success. Use neutral observation. Neutral language keeps the mind clear. Another benefit of weekly adjustment is alignment across life areas. Sometimes one system drains energy needed for another. Review helps balance effort. Balance prevents resentment toward the process. Adjustment also respects seasons. Some seasons require intensity. Others require recovery. Systems should reflect this. Forcing the same output year-round ignores reality. When you adjust systems weekly, you remain present. You are not trapped in old plans. You are responding to now. This presence improves decision-making. Weekly adjustment also reinforces commitment. You are not casually drifting. You are actively managing your direction. This creates a sense of agency. Agency reduces helplessness. When you feel in control of your systems, external chaos has less power. You know you can adapt. Over time, weekly adjustment builds wisdom. You learn how your energy works. You learn what supports consistency. You learn when to push and when to pause. This self-knowledge is valuable beyond any single system. Adjusting systems weekly also reduces the fear of starting. Many people hesitate to begin because they think the plan must be perfect. Weekly adjustment removes this pressure. You know you can refine later. Starting becomes easy. This approach encourages experimentation. You try small changes and observe results. This keeps growth dynamic. Weekly adjustment does not require motivation. It requires honesty. Honesty is quieter than motivation but more reliable. When life changes suddenly, systems adjusted regularly recover faster. You already have the habit of recalibration. You do not freeze, you respond. This practice creates resilience. Resilience is the ability to continue without losing direction. Weekly adjustment preserves direction even when speed changes. As weeks pass, systems become more refined. They fit you better. Effort becomes more efficient. Progress feels steadier. Adjusting systems weekly keeps growth humane. It respects limits while honoring ambition. It replaces force with intelligence. In the long run, this practice prevents collapse. Many people burn out because they never adjust. They push until something breaks. Weekly adjustment keeps the structure strong. When systems remain aligned with life, consistency becomes natural. You are not fighting reality, you are working with it. This is the quiet strength of weekly adjustment. It keeps progress alive through change. It turns discipline into dialogue with reality. By adjusting systems weekly, you remain flexible without losing commitment. You stay grounded without losing direction. You continue moving forward even as life shifts around you. Chapter 7. Build identity-based systems that reinforce who you become. Most people try to change their lives by chasing new results. They want different outcomes, better habits, and improved circumstances. What they rarely question is the identity driving their actions. Identity sits beneath behavior. It quietly decides what feels natural and what feels forced. When actions clash with identity, consistency fails. When actions reinforce identity, effort feels lighter. Building identity-based systems means designing daily actions that confirm who you are becoming rather than fighting who you believe you are. Identity is not a fixed label, it is shaped by repeated behavior. You are not disciplined because you think disciplined thoughts. You are disciplined because you repeatedly act with intention. Every action sends a message to the mind about who you are. Over time, the mind accepts the message it receives most often. Systems that reinforce identity work because they speak to the mind daily through action rather than words. Many people rely on motivation or positive thinking to change identity. This approach is unstable. Thoughts change easily. Behavior changes identity more reliably when you act in alignment with a desired identity. Belief follows action. This order matters. Action first, identity second. An identity-based system begins with clarity. You decide the type of person you want to become, not a role or a title, but a way of being: calm, consistent, focused, responsible, patient. These qualities are expressed through behavior. Once the identity is clear, the system becomes a tool to practice it daily. For example, if you want to become someone who values clarity, the system might involve a short daily reflection. If you want to become someone who respects health, the system might involve daily movement or mindful eating. The action itself is less important than the message it sends. Each completion reinforces the identity. The power of identity-based systems lies in repetition. One action does not change self-image. Repeated action does. When you show up daily, even in small ways, you collect evidence. Evidence shapes belief. Belief shapes future action. This creates a reinforcing cycle. Many people attempt change while holding on to an old identity. They say they want discipline but still see themselves as inconsistent. This internal conflict drains energy. Identity-based systems resolve this conflict by providing proof. Each action is proof that the new identity is real. A Stoic perspective emphasizes character over comfort. Character is built through action under ordinary conditions. Identity-based systems train character quietly. They do not require dramatic moments. They require daily commitment. It is important to keep identity statements grounded. Avoid grand labels that feel unrealistic. Choose identities that feel achievable through daily action. For example, instead of saying I am always productive, say I am someone who starts tasks on time. This identity can be practiced daily. Systems should be designed to succeed even on difficult days. When you complete the system under resistance, the identity strengthens faster. Acting when it is easy builds habit. Acting when it is difficult builds character. Language also matters. How you speak to yourself during action reinforces identity. Simple statements like "this is what I do," or "this is part of who I am" strengthen alignment. These statements are not affirmations. They are acknowledgments of behavior. Identity-based systems also reduce reliance on external validation. When actions are tied to who you are becoming, approval from others becomes less important. You measure success internally. This independence stabilizes motivation. Another advantage is resilience. When setbacks occur, identity-based systems recover faster. A missed day does not destroy identity. The identity remains because it is supported by many actions over time. You return to the system because it reflects who you are. It is also important to allow identity to evolve. Identity-based systems are not rigid. As you grow, identities deepen. The system adapts. For example, someone who identifies as a learner may start with reading daily and later add teaching or writing. The core identity remains. Identity-based systems encourage integrity. Integrity means actions match values. When systems are built around identity, integrity becomes daily practice. This creates inner calm. Inner calm improves decision-making. Many people struggle with inconsistency because they rely on willpower. Willpower is limited. Identity is enduring. When you see an action as part of who you are, less energy is required to perform it. Identity-based systems also help during periods of low motivation. You may not feel inspired, but you still act because acting aligns with identity. This removes debate. The question is no longer whether to act, but how to act within the system. Building identity through systems also changes how you handle failure. Failure becomes feedback rather than proof of inadequacy. You do not label yourself negatively. You adjust behavior and continue. This mindset supports long-term growth. It is important to keep systems aligned with values. An identity that conflicts with values will not hold. Choose identities that reflect what matters deeply. This alignment increases commitment. Daily reflection can strengthen identity-based systems. Briefly noting how actions align with identity reinforces awareness. This reflection does not need to be detailed. Recognition is enough. Identity-based systems also influence choices beyond the system itself. When you see yourself as disciplined, you make disciplined choices naturally. The system acts as a foundation. Other behaviors align around it. Social environment can support identity-based systems. Spending time around people who reflect similar identities strengthens belief. This does not require changing everyone around you. It requires choosing influence wisely. Avoid trying to build too many identities at once. Focus on one or two core identities. Depth matters more than breadth. Once an identity feels stable, another can be added. Identity-based systems also reduce anxiety about the future. When you focus on becoming rather than achieving, the future feels less threatening. You trust that the person you are becoming can handle challenges. Over time, identity-based systems create quiet confidence. This confidence does not depend on comparison or praise. It comes from self-alignment. You know who you are because your actions confirm it daily. This confidence improves resilience. You are less shaken by criticism or setbacks. You are anchored in behavior rather than opinion. Identity-based systems also improve patience. You understand that identity is built slowly. This reduces urgency. You stop rushing growth. You allow it to unfold through consistent action. When identity and behavior align, effort feels meaningful. You are not just completing tasks, you are expressing who you are becoming. This adds depth to daily life. It is also important to revisit identity intentionally. Periodically reflect on whether the identity still fits your direction. Growth sometimes requires refinement. Adjust systems accordingly. Identity-based systems support lifelong improvement because identity does not expire. Goals end, habits shift. Identity continues to guide behavior. When challenges arise, identity acts as a compass. You ask what someone like you would do. This question simplifies decisions. It reduces confusion. This approach creates internal leadership. You are not waiting for direction. You are guided by who you are becoming. Over time, identity-based systems change how you experience effort. Effort becomes expression rather than struggle. You act because it feels right, not because you force yourself. This does not remove difficulty. It changes your relationship with it. Difficulty becomes part of growth rather than a threat. Building identity-based systems, the return is stability, clarity, and self-respect. These qualities support success in any area of life. When your systems reinforce who you become, progress feels natural. You are not pretending to be someone else. You are practicing becoming yourself through action. This is how deep change occurs, not through dramatic promises, but through daily proof. Each action confirms identity. Each identity guides action. Over time, the gap between who you are and who you want to be closes. Quietly, the system does not shout, it works. By building identity-based systems, you stop chasing change and start embodying it. Chapter 8. Remove friction that blocks consistency and daily follow-through. Consistency is rarely broken by lack of desire. Most people want better habits and stronger discipline. What stops them is friction. Friction is anything that makes action feel heavier than it needs to be. It shows up as delay, confusion, resistance, distraction, or effort that feels too large for the moment. When friction remains, even strong intentions fade. Removing friction is not about becoming stronger. It is about making the right actions easier to start and easier to repeat. Many people blame themselves for inconsistency when the real problem is poor design. They build systems that require too much energy at the wrong time. They expect clarity when they have not simplified. They expect follow-through when obstacles are left in place. A well-designed system removes barriers before they appear. Friction exists both externally and internally. External friction includes physical obstacles, complex steps, cluttered spaces, missing tools, unclear schedules, and distractions. Internal friction includes mental resistance, uncertainty, emotional fatigue, fear of starting, and decision overload. Both forms must be addressed for consistency to become natural. The first step is awareness. You cannot remove friction you do not see. Pay attention to moments where you hesitate. Notice where you delay. Observe where effort spikes unexpectedly. These moments reveal friction points. Instead of judging them, study them. They are signals, not failures. Many habits fail at the start point. Starting is where friction is highest. Once momentum begins, effort often drops. This is why reducing start friction matters more than increasing motivation. If starting becomes easy, continuation follows naturally. One effective approach is reducing the number of steps between intention and action. Each additional step is a chance to quit. Prepare tools in advance. Set up environments that invite action. If a behavior requires searching, deciding, or preparing each time, friction accumulates. For example, if reading is important, keep the book visible and accessible. If writing matters, keep the workspace ready. If movement is a priority, remove obstacles that delay starting. These changes may feel small, but they remove invisible resistance. Time-based friction is another common issue. People plan habits at moments when energy is low or schedules are unpredictable. This creates friction through exhaustion or conflict. Align actions with energy rather than ideal timing. Choose moments that are already stable. Decision fatigue is a powerful source of friction. Each decision drains energy. Systems should reduce the need to decide. Fixed routines remove choice. When you know what happens next, resistance drops. Consistency increases. Another form of friction comes from vague expectations. When actions are unclear, the mind resists. Clear definitions remove uncertainty. Know exactly what action looks like. Define completion in simple terms. This reduces mental strain. Emotional friction often goes unnoticed. Negative associations attached to an action increase resistance. If a habit feels tied to pressure or self-criticism, avoidance grows. Reframe actions as support rather than obligation. This emotional shift reduces internal friction. Removing friction also means removing unnecessary difficulty. Many people believe growth requires struggle. This belief adds friction intentionally. While challenge matters, unnecessary difficulty does not. Systems should be challenging enough to build progress, but simple enough to sustain. Friction also appears through environment design. Noisy spaces, digital distractions, and clutter drain attention. Simplifying surroundings supports focus. This is not about perfection. It is about reducing constant interference. Digital friction deserves special attention. Notifications interrupt flow. Endless options drain clarity. Design digital boundaries that protect focus. Silence non-essential alerts. Limit access during important actions. These changes protect consistency. Social friction can also block follow-through. Unsupportive environments increase resistance. You do not need approval, but you do need fewer obstacles. Set boundaries where needed. Protect your systems from constant interruption. Internal narratives also create friction. Statements like "I am bad at consistency" or "I never finish things" reinforce resistance. These thoughts increase effort required to act. Replace judgment with observation. Focus on process rather than identity labels. Simplifying goals into systems reduces friction naturally. When the focus is on daily action rather than outcomes, pressure drops. Lower pressure reduces resistance. This makes follow-through easier. It is also helpful to reduce the cost of failure. When missing one day feels catastrophic, friction increases. Fear of failure creates avoidance. Design systems where returning is easy. Make recovery part of the system. Physical energy affects friction more than people realize. Poor sleep, dehydration, and lack of movement increase resistance. Supporting basic physical needs lowers friction across all systems. Another source of friction is perfectionism. Waiting for ideal conditions delays action. Accepting imperfect execution allows movement. Movement reduces friction over time. Preparation is one of the strongest friction reducers. Preparing the night before reduces morning resistance. Preparing the workspace reduces hesitation. Preparation shifts effort away from the moment of action. Tracking can also reduce friction. When done simply, seeing progress builds momentum. Momentum reduces resistance. Keep tracking light. Avoid complex systems that create new friction. Language matters as well. Words like must and should increase pressure. Pressure increases friction. Use neutral language. Describe actions as choices aligned with values. Removing friction also requires removing unnecessary commitments. Overloading systems increases resistance. Fewer systems done well outperform many systems done inconsistently. Flexibility reduces friction during unpredictable periods. Rigid systems break under stress. Flexible systems adapt. Adaptation preserves consistency. It is important to recognize that friction changes over time. What was easy can become difficult. Regularly review systems for new obstacles. Adjust early. When friction is removed, discipline becomes less visible. Actions feel lighter. Consistency feels natural. This does not mean effort disappears. It means effort is used wisely. Reducing friction is an act of self-respect. You are designing life to support growth rather than fight it. This mindset shifts responsibility from force to design. Many people wait for motivation to overcome friction. This approach fails repeatedly. Motivation is unstable. Design is stable. Removing friction works even on low-energy days. As friction decreases, identity strengthens. You begin to see yourself as consistent because action flows more easily. This reinforces systems further. Removing friction does not mean avoiding challenge. It means choosing challenges that matter and removing those that do not. This distinction preserves energy. Over time, systems with low friction compound. Small actions repeated daily create large change. This happens quietly. It feels simple. That simplicity is strength. Consistency is not built by pushing harder. It is built by clearing the path. When the path is clear, walking forward requires less effort. By removing friction that blocks follow-through, you allow systems to work as intended. You stop relying on willpower and start relying on structure. This shift changes everything. Daily action becomes sustainable. Progress becomes steady. Growth becomes part of normal life rather than a struggle. When friction is removed, consistency stops feeling like a battle. It becomes a rhythm. That rhythm carries you forward, even when motivation fades. This is how real change lasts. Not through pressure or force, but through thoughtful design that supports daily action. Chapter 9. Commit to showing up even when results feel invisible. Most people quit not because the work is hard, but because the results stay quiet for too long. Effort is given, time is invested, energy is spent, yet nothing seems to change on the surface. This silent phase is where growth either deepens or dies. Committing to showing up when results feel invisible is the skill that separates temporary effort from lasting transformation. Early progress often hides itself. Systems work beneath the surface before they show outward proof. Muscles strengthen before they look different. Skills sharpen before they feel effortless. Character forms before it is recognized. When you judge progress only by visible outcomes, you ignore the deeper changes that are already happening. The mind naturally seeks reward. It wants evidence that effort matters. When evidence is delayed, doubt enters. Doubt weakens commitment. This is why many abandon systems too early. They confuse silence with failure. In reality, silence is often a sign that foundations are forming. Showing up without visible results requires discipline rooted in principle rather than emotion. Emotion shifts daily. Principle remains stable. Principle says the action matters even when the reward is absent. This mindset removes dependence on feedback and replaces it with internal alignment. Consistency during invisible phases builds resilience. Each time you act without immediate payoff, you strengthen self-trust. You prove to yourself that effort is not conditional. This internal shift is more valuable than any external result. Invisible progress trains patience. Patience is not passive waiting, it is active endurance. It is the ability to continue without reassurance. This capacity strengthens decision-making under uncertainty. Many people unknowingly train themselves to quit by only acting when motivated or rewarded. This conditions inconsistency. Showing up regardless retrains the mind to value process over validation. Invisible periods are also where systems stabilize. Habits settle into routine. Resistance decreases. Actions require less mental negotiation. This stabilization often occurs quietly. One known practical way to stay committed is redefining success. Instead of measuring results, measure presence. Did you show up? Did you complete the action? This shift protects motivation from outcome fluctuations. Another powerful approach is shortening the time horizon. Focus only on today's action. Long-term results overwhelm the mind. Today's effort is manageable. Commitment becomes lighter when narrowed. Trust builds through repetition. Each completed action deposits confidence. Even when results are unseen, confidence grows internally. This confidence sustains effort. It is important to accept emotional discomfort during these phases. Frustration, boredom, and doubt are normal responses to delayed feedback. Resisting these emotions increases suffering. Acknowledging them reduces their power. Showing up during invisible phases also reveals true values. When no one is watching and nothing is rewarded, action reflects commitment rather than performance. This alignment strengthens integrity. Many systems fail because people constantly evaluate them. Constant evaluation increases pressure. Pressure distorts perception. Allow systems time to mature before judging them. Comparison increases difficulty during invisible phases. Seeing others progress faster creates impatience. Each system operates on its own timeline. Comparison pulls attention away from your process. Silence does not mean stagnation. Growth often happens through accumulation. Small changes stack quietly until a threshold is crossed. The breakthrough appears sudden, but it is built gradually. Staying consistent during this phase requires simplifying actions. Complexity increases resistance when rewards are absent. Keep actions simple. Reduce expectations. Maintain rhythm. Routine supports commitment. Fixed times and cues remove decision-making. This reduces emotional interference. Language influences persistence. Avoid phrases that imply waiting for results. Focus language on action and continuity. Words shape perception. Reflect occasionally on past growth. Recall times when effort paid off after delay. This reinforces trust in the process. It is also helpful to detach self-worth from outcomes. When identity depends on visible success, invisible phases feel threatening. Separating effort from self-worth preserves stability. Invisible phases are where discipline becomes identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who shows up regardless. This identity outlasts any single result. Energy management matters here. Fatigue amplifies doubt. Support physical and mental energy to reduce resistance. Avoid overconsumption of external motivation. Motivation can create unrealistic expectations of quick results. Quiet consistency is more reliable. Rest has value, but quitting disguised as rest undermines systems. Distinguish between recovery and avoidance. Tracking actions provides reassurance when results are absent. Evidence of consistency reinforces commitment. Invisible progress also strengthens humility. You learn to work without applause. This grounded approach supports long-term growth. Many skills feel uncomfortable before they feel useful. Tolerating discomfort accelerates mastery. Showing up when nothing seems to happen builds courage. Courage is acting without certainty. This skill extends beyond habits into life decisions. Over time, the invisible becomes visible. Results emerge gradually, then suddenly, those who stayed are ready to receive them. When results finally appear, they often exceed expectations because the foundation is solid. Systems built patiently last longer. The ability to persist through silence becomes transferable. You apply it to relationships, work, health, and personal growth. This commitment reshapes character. You become steady rather than reactive, reliable rather than emotional. Invisible phases teach faith in action, not blind belief, but earned trust through repetition. Eventually, showing up becomes automatic. The question of whether to act disappears. Action becomes normal. This is the quiet power of systems. They carry you through phases where motivation fails and results hide. Committing to showing up without visible reward is not glamorous. It is deeply effective. This is where real change is secured, not in moments of excitement, but in ordinary days where effort continues without proof. Those days shape the future more than any breakthrough moment. When you honor the process during silence, the process honors you with lasting results. This commitment is not dramatic. It is steady, and that steadiness changes everything. Chapter 10. Sustain improvement by trusting systems more than outcomes. Improvement is often misunderstood as chasing results. People focus on outcomes, achievements, or visible success and tie their effort directly to these endpoints. This approach is unstable because outcomes are influenced by factors beyond control. Trusting systems rather than outcomes creates lasting growth, because systems are under direct influence and consistently repeatable. Systems act as the framework for reliable progress, while outcomes are merely byproducts. Understanding this distinction changes how effort, time, and energy are invested. Systems provide structure when results are uncertain. They define what to do daily, how to act, and when to act. Outcomes may fluctuate due to circumstance, timing, or chance, but systems remain within reach. By prioritizing systems, energy is applied to factors that actually matter. This reduces frustration and increases consistency. Many people abandon improvement because outcomes are delayed or invisible. Weight does not shift immediately. Skills feel awkward for months. Business results lag. When focus is solely on outcomes, patience wears thin and effort diminishes. Trusting the system shifts attention from waiting for results to actively engaging in the process that guarantees growth. This perspective stabilizes action and keeps momentum alive. Trusting systems requires letting go of attachment to short-term validation. Each completed action is an investment in cumulative change. Even when the outcome is unclear, the action matters. Systems transform small, repeated behaviors into measurable, long-term transformation. The consistency of action compounds in ways that immediate results cannot reflect. Lone practical application is designing clear, simple systems aligned with long-term objectives. For example, if the goal is better health, the system might be a daily habit of movement, balanced nutrition, and adequate rest. The outcome, whether weight changes or strength improves, is secondary to the daily commitment. The system guarantees that the right behaviors are being executed consistently. Monitoring systems also build self-trust. Tracking adherence to the system shows that effort is being applied reliably, regardless of outcome. Self-trust reinforces the ability to persist. It creates a foundation for disciplined action because progress is no longer contingent on reward, but on adherence. Systems also reduce anxiety about uncertainty. When results are unpredictable, stress can become paralyzing. Systems provide certainty in effort. Knowing that the correct steps are being followed relieves pressure even when results are delayed. This creates a calm, sustainable form of motivation rooted in process rather than external feedback. Another key element is adjusting systems without abandoning them due to temporary setbacks. A single missed action or undesired outcome does not invalidate the system. Resilience comes from returning to the structure consistently. Systems offer continuity and reliability that outcomes cannot. This approach fosters a growth mindset because learning occurs within the process itself. Trusting systems over outcomes shifts perspective on failure. Failure is no longer defined by missed results, but by neglecting the system. A day without action matters more than a day without achievement. This subtle shift increases accountability and reinforces daily responsibility. It trains the mind to value consistent engagement over sporadic bursts of performance. Long-term improvement is a function of compounding small actions. Systems ensure repetition and sustainability. Each repeated behavior builds skill, resilience, and competence. Outcomes will eventually follow naturally, but they are unreliable indicators in the short term. Systems, however, guarantee incremental growth regardless of immediate reward. Maintaining focus on systems also reduces stress caused by comparison. Comparing outcomes with others creates dissatisfaction, but when attention is on executing a system, external factors lose influence. The mind becomes centered on controllable elements, which enhances clarity and reduces distraction system. Based improvement also encourages strategic flexibility. Adjustments can be made to the process when needed without abandoning the overarching commitment. This allows learning and adaptation to occur continuously. Outcomes can be optimized over time, but the system itself maintains momentum and stability. Daily adherence to systems strengthens discipline and character. Systems act as training grounds for patience, resilience, and consistency. Each repetition reinforces internal habits that produce lasting transformation. Over time, the mind internalizes the behaviors, making action automatic and identity aligned. Trusting systems requires belief in process over intuition or emotion. Motivation fluctuates daily, but systems do not. They provide guidance independent of fleeting feelings. The practice becomes self-reinforcing because consistency builds evidence of capability, creating confidence that is grounded in action rather than assumption. Another benefit is clarity in goal alignment. Systems keep attention on fundamental behaviors that matter most. When outcomes are emphasized prematurely, people often chase vanity metrics or temporary rewards. Systems ensure that effort remains focused on high-impact actions that truly drive growth. Sustainable improvement also involves reducing reliance on immediate gratification. Systems cultivate delayed reward by emphasizing daily behavior over instantaneous results. Patience emerges naturally. The mind learns that progress is measured by adherence and effort rather than quick wins. This builds resilience in the face of slow or hidden progress. Trusting systems also supports emotional stability. When outcomes fluctuate, the mind can feel unstable. Systems anchor behavior. They provide a predictable framework for action, which reduces anxiety and discouragement. This consistency in approach allows for rational reflection and strategic adaptation. Incremental success reinforces belief in the system. When small, consistent actions produce subtle improvements, confidence grows quietly. Over months and years, these incremental gains accumulate, demonstrating that the system works even when results were previously invisible. This reinforces adherence and strengthens long-term commitment. System-based thinking also encourages ownership of effort. Outcomes are affected by many factors, but systems are fully under personal control. This shift empowers individuals to focus on what they can manage, reinforcing responsibility and agency. A practical approach to trusting systems is to define daily rituals that clearly align with broader objectives. Each day, specific actions are executed regardless of mood, environment, or apparent immediate reward. These rituals act as anchor points for improvement and create a reliable cadence of progress. Systems provide a framework for learning from experience. By observing which elements of the system yield results over time, refinement becomes evidence-based rather than reactive. This creates intelligent adaptation, optimizing processes while maintaining the core structure. Outcomes are improved indirectly through system fidelity. Trusting systems over outcomes also helps prevent burnout. Obsession with results can create pressure, stress, and impulsive decisions. Systems reduce this risk by keeping focus on manageable, repeatable actions. Energy is invested in process rather than chasing unpredictable results, leading to sustainable growth. Long-term success becomes inevitable when systems are prioritized. Outcomes are natural consequences of faithful execution. Skills, competence, discipline, and resilience all improve as a result of consistent engagement. Systems turn small, daily actions into cumulative transformation that no short-term result could provide. Ultimately, the principle of trusting systems above outcomes cultivates independence, responsibility, and confidence. It shifts growth from being externally validated to internally sustained. Improvement becomes self-sufficient because it relies on repeatable behavior rather than external circumstances. Systems create stability, consistency, and continuous momentum. Through unwavering commitment to systems, improvement becomes permanent. Temporary setbacks, unpredictable results, and external fluctuations no longer dictate progress. The focus on daily action ensures that growth is steady, cumulative, and resilient. This mindset transforms effort into a dependable force that builds skill, character, and life mastery over time. By committing to systems instead of outcomes, the journey of improvement becomes reliable, manageable, and deeply fulfilling. Every day becomes an opportunity to reinforce the structure that supports growth. Outcomes follow, but they are no longer the measure of progress. The system itself becomes the true path to lasting transformation.